Hi, and welcome to tonight's Neat USA program. My name is Paul Hart, and I'm your host tonight. And every time I get an opportunity to bring you another show from Neat USA, I get very excited. In the past, I've talked about excitement, inspiration, but tonight's show, I think, is relevant. And I say relevant in the point that tonight's topic is about alcoholism and addiction. And I think that's a very relevant topic because I believe it affects every home, every person. Even if it hasn't affected you in your immediate family, you know someone who's maybe struggling with addiction, with alcoholism. And when I talk about addiction, I don't just mean alcohol and drugs. There's addictions like sex, gambling, eating. So there are a lot of different addictions, a lot of different problems. So tonight's topic is relevant, and tonight we're going to talk about it. And I have somebody here with me tonight. My guest tonight is Joe Duffy. He is executive director at Straight and Narrow, which is one of the biggest treatment programs in the state of New Jersey. And I'm going to introduce you to Joe Duffy. Mr. Duffy, how are you?
Good evening, Paul. Fine. I'm glad to be here.
Good. And when we talk about alcoholism and addiction, could you tell us a little bit about Straight and Narrow and what you do there?
Sure. Well, Straight and Narrow is the oldest comprehensive treatment program in the state of New Jersey. And I know it from being a little boy growing up in Patterson. On the steps of St. John's Church one day, a guy with a baseball cap was driving past the church with a bus, and it was Father Bill Wall, our founder. And my father said, "That's Father Bill. He works with the down and outs."
Wow.
So that was my first exposure to Straight and Narrow. And what happened was Father Bill had one day, many of our Catholic Charities agencies in the Patterson Diocese start because of a priest that had a particular, I use the word passion.
Yes.
Father Bill went to the bishop and said, "We need to do something for men that are down on their luck."
Yes.
And so he got Bishop to give him a building. We're still in that building. It's our original building at 390 Straight Street, which originally was called the Mount Carmel Guild Social Service Center. And he started with a place to drive folks out. And it snowballed. Well, they dried out, and then what? So we needed a place for them to live and to start getting some kind of treatment before we really had formal treatment.
Right.
And then, well, we found out it was an equal opportunity disease, and so what about the women?
Yes.
So we got into women's services, and then the greater drug explosion started in the 60s. And so Straight and Narrow started adding other drugs. And actually, probably most of our clients today are primary drugs, but they're dual diagnosis many times, multiple drugs and alcohol. And so we've gotten in from detox to inpatient. We have short-term patient, short-term treatment, long-term treatment. We prefer long-term. Most of the folks, not most of the folks, all the folks that come to us didn't get into that problem overnight.
Right.
So a few weeks or a few months is not going to help them to get their lives back in order. We need time. So we do encourage the long-term, but it could be the short-term. It could be outpatient, intensive outpatient. And so we have the whole continuum, except the one thing that's missing is we have not been in what's called the halfway house or the reentry house business. We had to close our programs a number of years ago as they were deteriorating, and now we're poised. We got funding from the state, and hopefully we'll get our approval from the county planning board this week, and we're going to start renovations and add a 50-bed halfway house for men.
Oh, okay.
And a year later, hopefully we'll do one for women. So we'll have the whole continuum again.
All right. Well, you gave us a lot of information already. So let me back up and ask you a question. Now you said, now we know alcoholism and addiction is a major problem. How many clients do you bed at one time? Can you bed
Sure.
Straight and Narrow?
We have on any day around figures 250 men, women, and we also take adolescents. The adolescents is a smaller program. We can take up to 30 adolescents each day. We probably average closer to 20. But between the adolescents, the men, and the women, we have 250 each day in residential treatment. We have another 120 in outpatient. We have another 225 in the methadone program.
Right. Now, when you say adolescents, because I did a show recently with an advocate from a juvenile detention center, and you say adolescents. What ages would that be?
It's high school age, up to 18. Probably the range is more 13 to 16, but we do have at any point in time kids that are 17 turning 18.
Wow, and we see it. I mean, as we read every day, it's become quite a problem with our youth. Do you see a bigger move?
Well, I find working with the adolescents to probably be the most challenging for, I think, two reasons. The adolescents don't necessarily see they have a problem yet. Right. They're there because they can't go back to school, or they're going to have to go to that detention center many times, not because they want help with their problem. We see a number of them come back to us as adults later. But the other part of the problem with the adult population, as they're approaching discharge, if I sit in on what we call the multidisciplinary team meeting,
yes,
what's going to happen when you leave here? The plan is, I'm not going back to the way things were.
Right.
I'm going to a different place. Right. I'm going to a halfway house for a year or two first. Right. With the adolescents, they're going back to that same environment that they came out of. Right. And we asked the question, so how are you going to refrain from doing drugs? So my friends will respect me. And so we try to give them coping skills on how they can negotiate and say no. But we're putting them right back after a relatively short period of time, usually 6 months or less, where they have the same daily pressures they've had before they came into. So hopefully we've given them some coping skills to say no.
Now, you've talked about the short-term program versus the long-term program. What's the difference?
About 5 months. The short-term program on average is 28 days. It could be less, could be more, because we also say on what they need to complete it. But we have a curriculum that's approved by the state that folks have to get through. Right. A lot of folks will come into that, and then we'll be talking to them while they're there. Perhaps you might benefit from some more time, so we could convert them to the long term. Right. But we offer that to again, have the choices.
Are they happy about that when you start talking to them about taking a little bit more time?
They're mostly not happy the first time, but it's great to see as we go through the treatment program with them that they realize themselves, I'm not ready yet. I need more time.
Right. You and I talked before we started. I've talked to other people, and they talk about a success rate. I've heard people say, only one of you are going to make it out of 10 when you leave here. What kind of success rate does Straight and Narrow have?
Yeah, I don't know anybody that's come up with a way to really measure a success rate yet. We do, when clients are ready to leave us, we have them sign and release so we can stay in touch with them, and we will reach out at 3 months and 6 months for those that have said yes, and most of them do say yes. We can contact them. Right. Despite saying yes, months later people move on and change residences, and we can't inquire too much because of all the privacy regulation that we have to follow to try to follow up with them. What we know anecdotally is some people do come back and tell us. We will be starting what we call an alumni group during the next year, and so we'll try to get folks to stay involved with us. The community itself, though, talks to each other. So we do hear, again, anecdotally from clients that are with us that had known someone that was with us, and they moved on to another program, or they've had a slip and they're in this program at this time. Right. Probably the one that we have the best way of knowing is our Intoxicated Driver Resource Center.
The IDRC,
because not too many of them come back a third time, because that means they're going to lose their license a lot longer. And so whether it's the success of our program or the fear of that really losing your license keeps them from coming back, but we don't see a lot of recidivism in the IDRC program.
Okay. Joe, you've been doing this. How long have you been actively involved in the whole?
I've been on the Straight and Narrow board for almost 18 years now, and served as the board president most of that time. And then in July of 2013, when the predecessor retired, I applied for and was accepted into the position to be the executive director.
Okay. I'm thinking off the top of my head, we're talking about alcoholism, addiction, and you've been doing this for a long time. I'm going to ask you something. Is there one thing that you see from a majority of the clients, most of the clients, that you can almost, that one thing that you see that kind of stops them from getting it, from getting the real breakthrough that they're looking for, that they need? Is there one thing that kind of stops them?
Yeah, I think, and it's something that improves when they're there. A lot of folks come in with very little self-worth. No one's, I should say no one, because obviously people have cared about them. They've battled with them on their addictions for years. But the feeling of, I'm no good, look what I've done. I've messed up my family, I've messed up my relationships, I've gotten in trouble with the law. Who could possibly love me, and how could anyone possibly think I'm good? And the basic principle we operate under in all of our Catholic charities is respect.
Yes.
Everybody's deserving of respect, not because of what they've done, but because they're born in the image and likeness of God.
Amen.
And so God's in that addict, God's in that other criminal, God's in that doctor, and we do emphasize that. And over the time when folks are with us, they see that they're worth something, and then that spark of hope comes on.
Amen. Amen. So, I mean, you brought up a good point. You brought up that kind of God has to be in it. So it's a treatment program, but it has the spirituality base in it.
Right.
Is that the foundation of the whole program?
Yeah. Well, of course, we started with Father Bill Waugh.
Okay. All right.
Probably initially it was a good deal of those Irish Catholics that came in that time. But we never restricted who we would serve, and we say in this and all of our programs, we serve people based on their need, not their creed.
Right.
We try to use reference to the higher power.
Yes.
Somehow how the word God keeps coming in. But we have imams we work with, rabbis we've worked with, different ministers from different Christian faiths, and of course our own Catholic faiths. We'll work with people that say they don't believe in God, and we use more than the higher power. We put a lot of emphasis on spirituality.
Yes.
A lot of it's with AA and NA. One of the things we've done, we're in our fourth year now. People that are in recovery started offering retreats to our clients 4 years ago, and that was twice a year. At this point, we're doing it twice a month, once for the men and once for the women. They spend a weekend in the country. It's all AA based. And again, this is where we really see people jump forward. They go there and they sit and they're served and they relax.
Amen.
And they feel good about themselves. And then for the adolescents, we have them only go for the day. We don't want too many young teens spending weekends together, so we do that during a daytime activity. And now, just in the past, since January, we're now offering retreats for our staff.
Okay.
And again, the retreat is not necessarily any kind of religious bent to it.
Right.
It's a time to get away, to reflect. In the case of the clients, to get involved with the 12 steps and spirituality in terms of our clients, to deal with those values. We're talking about respect and subsidiarity, and everyone being involved in the recovery process.
Joe, when we started this, when I think about treatment programs, I mean, I know some people who had the opportunity to spend some time in some treatment programs. Now, whether they spend 30 days, 6 months, they come out, and sometimes I feel like they come out and they still just don't know what to do with themselves. I know you guys recommend the 12-step programs, and you take them, but now you said that you guys are looking to open a halfway house.
Right.
Is that something that they can transition to from the program?
Well, even right now, we deal with about 24 halfway houses, because we probably wouldn't. I'm sure there's some people that are ready when their time's up.
Sure.
But most of them, we don't feel they have the best chance at success, and they don't. They want to go to something else.
Right.
And so the halfway house is the opportunity. And a good every day I walk through our great hall, which is where the meals take place. Mr. Duffy, what's happening with the halfway house? They want to come to Straight and Narrow's halfway house. They don't want to go. And I think that's part of that trust they built up. They've gotten used to Straight and Narrow, the regimen, the people. So there's a certain level of trust, even though we give them our word, this is a good place to go into.
Right.
If it's a Straight and Narrow halfway house, they'd be much more comfortable. So we want them to go there. And during the time in the halfway house, one of the requirements they have to have or be looking for a job. And so they're still going to be supervised, get counseling, be able to go to meetings, develop job skills, build up a bank account.
Yes.
So that a year later, sometimes 2 years later, they're ready to fully move out on their own. But they'll do that gradually. Well, I forgot to mention one thing I think that's very important, something we're doing now at Straight and Narrow, and I don't know if anyone else does this. Every client that comes to our program gets either the basic NA text as a gift or the AA Big Book with an inscription about this is one of the tools available to you. If you leave tomorrow, take this book with you.
Right.
Maybe that'll give you some comfort and get you back on the road to recovery, or you complete the program, but you have that book with you. Our staff get it, and we've done a lot more training for our staff on the value and the use of the 12 steps as a corollary to the professional therapy that our credentialed counselors are offering.
Okay, all right. When I mentioned about the halfway house, and you said the clients want to go to a Straight and Narrow halfway house. You said that with a lot of pride. Let me ask you, what makes Straight and Narrow different than the other treatment programs that are out there?
Now you may get me in trouble. I may get some calls from some of the other facilities tomorrow. But actually, I think, and this would be one that our competitors, and we don't look at them as competitors. We're all in this together, and we share resources. But Straight and Narrow, I think, has the broadest continuum. So we have, when we open up this halfway house, we will have it all again. We have detox, we have short-term, we have long-term, we have outpatient, we have intensive outpatient, we have the IDRC program, we have housing for persons with AIDS. Most of the programs would offer one or two, but we're offering all that. And so they can get, really we talk about one-stop shopping. They can come to Straight and Narrow, get detox, and be with us for 2 years, and be really well on the road to recovery.
Wow. You mentioned the housing with AIDS. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of any program. Are there other treatment programs that have housing with AIDS?
I'm not aware of any other drug and alcohol treatment program that does. And we were fortunate enough to get HUD funding probably in the late 90s. We got the first one, so we had 24 apartments. And then a few years later we got funding, and so now we had another 50 apartments.
Okay. Now, you know what? Does most of your funding come from the state?
95%, I would say, would be a different kind of government funding, whether it's from the county, whether it's from municipal, whether it's direct federal, Ryan White monies for HIV, for example, Department of Corrections money, Department of Human Services money. The bulk of our client referrals are coming from the drug court system at the moment.
Right, and we talked about that earlier. I guess most of the 250 clients that you see, would most of them be court ordered?
Yes. And the drug court program in New Jersey, I'm very impressed with it. And our current governor especially has put a lot of emphasis on education, on prevention and treatment offerings. And he's been very supportive of drug court. And drug court has you for up to 5 years. You can get out a little sooner if you finish the whole program. But realizing that it's a lot cheaper and more beneficial to society if we get people help, having that to hold over the clients. You could be in jail or you could be spending your time in a Straight and Narrow or in an outpatient program. Well, what do you want to do? And working then with their parole officers and the court officers, they really watch. And I've been to 3 or 4 graduations now. I feel like it's a college graduation when you go there, and every client gets his diploma, so to speak, and shakes the hand of the judge that could have just as easily put him in jail, and they talk about their little success stories of what they've done to turn their life around. Drug court's a very effective tool.
Yeah, I have a buddy of mine who graduated from drug court, and he's been able to successfully complete. He successfully completed the program, and he's really happy. But there's a lot of things that he knows that he has to do to stay away and to stay on course. What would those things be? What would you tell somebody?
For the drug court or ourselves?
For just a person who's had a problem in the past. They come home, and now they really want to stay on the straight and narrow.
Okay. Everybody has their own, basically, toolkit we give them. And what are your triggers? You know, why do you do drugs? What kind of occasions? So, you know, we'll role play. We'll talk about things you can do to avoid that crowd, to change your crowd, to change your. You know, if your job was in an industry where there's a lot of drugs, then maybe we need to talk about finding a new job.
Right.
But you know what? If they choose no, then what can we do to help you cope with saying no when you're at that job and you see this going on?
Okay. All right. You and I had discussed earlier once before. If I'm out in the street and I know I've got a problem, I know I need help. How would I find straight and narrow? What public relations? How do you guys advertise? What are you doing out there?
Well, we go around to different community agencies, to the hospitals, to mental health agencies, through church groups. We just completely updated our website. We can get people on that. One of the tools is a very interesting tool. Again, to my knowledge, we're the only drug and alcohol treatment program that has its own gospel choir.
Oh, okay.
That gospel choir is out probably at least 40 weeks a year on weekends, primarily in Catholic parishes, but not only. They could be in any faith denomination. They've been in Muslim areas, in Baptist churches, where we'll perform for part of that religious service, and clients will give a testimony to the road where they are on their road to recovery now. And I don't keep statistics, but I'd be willing to bet we've gotten one referral out of every single presentation.
Wow.
Because the districts are still 1 in 10, and so we have an audience of 200.
Okay.
There's someone there or someone that knows somebody that gets around. But we take every opportunity to go out, and that same gospel choir or members of it would go to high schools, elementary schools. We concentrate primarily in Patterson, but we've gone into Bergen County schools, Morris County schools, Sussex County schools with a couple of clients, and they can do a whole school assembly and then break into classrooms and meet with the students. And we try in those cases to bring a lot of the younger clients because they can relate a little bit better to those students.
All right. And the gospel choir, is this clients from the program?
It's clients and graduates. That's one of the areas where
Nice.
we keep tabs on our clients that have graduated, so they'll come back.
Okay.
We actually have, if someone goes to our website, they can hear the choir. We have a couple of selections on the website. They can listen to them.
All right, great. And let me ask you something, Joe, and I should have probably asked you this in the beginning. You seem pretty passionate about this, and when we were talking earlier, you seem like there was something that that's ingrained in you. How did that start?
Actually, straight and narrow probably was my formal education in addictions. I started out, I was in the seminary, and I was assigned to work at Catholic Charities, and I worked in our group homes for adults with disabilities. And at one point, I actually ran a program for adults with disabilities and saw a couple of people that had an alcohol problem. And they didn't have the intellectual capacity to go into a treatment program.
Right.
At that point in the 70s, it was called special education and mental retardation. And so I was scratching my head saying, what am I going to do? I can't tell them, just don't take a drink today. And that led me to now Father Ed Redding, who was in the seminary a couple years ahead of me. And he said, go visit Straight and Narrow. And so I visited Straight and Narrow, met with Dr. Canavan, who was the medical director of our detox hospital then. He started having me come there for courses to learn about substance abuse. And then I went to St. Joe's Hospital when I left Catholic Charities and ran this social work department, and found on the ward we had people that had drinking problems, and because one of the nurses on the ward was married to one of the guys that worked at Straight and Narrow, we would call them occasionally, but there was no formal treatment program. And that led to, by the time I finished my time at St. Joe's, we were using over 24 treatment facilities. We had folks coming in. We started AA groups at St. Joe's. We started an employee assistance program at St. Joe's for our staff. So I got sucked into it because of the, those two clients.
Yes.
And I found it very rewarding.
Okay. I want to tell you, and I got to be honest with you, I've got Straight and Narrow has a special place in my heart. And it's one of the reasons why I'm so happy to finally have met you. I've had the opportunity to visit Straight and Narrow with my church, Coastal Walk Outreach Ministries. My pastor ministers there, I believe, like once a month. I had a chance to meet Father Charles. And we come in and I watch the clients and I see the smiles on their faces, and they come over and they talk to us and we have a chance to pray with them. And it's just a special time. And I always leave, me and my wife and my church family, we always leave with such a special feeling. So I'm not sure what you guys are doing there, but you guys are doing a wonderful job. And we really love coming out to meet with you guys and to bless you, because we always leave with a blessing. So I just want to thank you. We have a little bit of time left, and you did mention that you have a website address. I'd like you to at least let the people know the website address, where they can reach you, the address, give them some information.
Okay. Well, please visit us on the web. It's a long web address, but it's easy to remember, www.straightandnarrow Inc. And it's spelled out, StraightandNarrow Inc.org. My contact information is there. At this point, we just updated, I said, the website, and all the programs are listed with a little description of each one, with how to contact each individual program. But, basically, you have a question, just call me. My number's there, but I'll give you 973-345-6000 and ask for Joe Duffy. We'll play phone tag, but I'll get back to you. But I did want to mismention, if I got time, Straight and Narrow, the name. We were called Mount Carmel Social Service Center when we started. But in 1975, one of my predecessors, Father O'Connor, went to the mayor. And we were on a side street of Straight and Cedar. And so he got the mayor to change Cedar Street to Narrow. And we've been saying since then, when you leave here, you have to walk the Straight and Narrow.
That's
and
right.
In 1975, we changed our corporate name to Straight and Narrow from Mount Carmel Guild.
Thank you. Well, we're almost at the end of the show. I want to thank Joe Duffy, for the executive director, for coming down and talking to us about Straight and Narrow. I got to tell you, I've been there, I've visited there. It's just a warm place. Addiction and alcoholism has really affected a lot of our families. So it's something that is really relevant, like I said at the beginning of the show. So I'm hoping that you guys got something from this show. Again, we at Neat USA, we always looking to give you more information, and I hope we were able to give you something tonight. I want you to have a great evening. Thanks for joining us.